We can't interpret M25 PocketDol's actions as if they were using the Blackpink model of scarcity paired with viral fame, because silence without payoff leaves no anticipation to cash in on. The initial buzz from My Teenage Girl was squandered, and the hiatus left fans hungry for cohesion. PocketDol's mismanagement left Classy stalled, and by the time they transitioned to K-Tiger's entertainment, the damage was already done. So Reboot After Tears wholly feels like both a reset and a compromise, a strategic relaunch under new management, but one shaped by the scars of their past.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Hello and welcome. My name is Nisi. Classy's Reboot After Tears is a comeback that I believe says more about the state of the group than the music itself. After a 19-month silence, I definitely expected this album to be a unified push to cement identity, but instead the tracklist split into 2 group songs and 7 solos. That imbalance feels counterintuitive for a project group whose contract clock is already ticking, and to me, reads less like a celebration of synergy and more like a management strategy to test which members can sustain solo careers once the group dissolves. Seeing that tracklist was off-putting at first, but given their history and recent shift in management, I could also recognize what was happening. And my own personal tension with it is exactly why I wanted to unpack it all in a separate post. Classy originally debuted under M25. And let's be very clear, M25 is a management subsidiary fully owned by PocketDol Studio, created solely to manage the group. After prolonged inactivity and management missteps, they transferred to K-Tiger's Entertainment this year, 2026. This seems to be a shift to be thankful for, though, of course, only time will tell. Reboot After Tears is their first release under the new label, and it was reframed as both a comeback and a redefinition of their sound. Knowing the label shift occurred, the timing makes the solo-heavy tracklist feel less like a creative indulgence or a lack of direction, and more like a needed strategic relaunch by their new company. It also feels more like a financially protective compromise for the company to make. By giving each member a solo, the album is positioned as this sort of portfolio of individual artistry, a way to showcase distinct voices while sidestepping the expense and risk of a full 7-member promotional cycle. And my frustration comes from, of course, all this context. Classy debuted in May 2022, yet by mid-2026, their discography sits at under 30 songs. Compare that to Kepler, who debuted just months earlier and raced through nearly 100 tracks, extending their contract through sheer activity. Triple S, debuting months later, isn't a project group, but the focus is on leveraging these unfixed subunit rotations, another sort of impermanence, and they've already surpassed 70 songs. These groups treated their limited time, limited in different ways, as a sprint, maximizing output and visibility. Neither company did this perfectly, Wake One nor Modhouse by any means, but at least they've each done this with some sense of intention. Classy, by contrast, has always felt benched. The long gaps between releases drained momentum, so the general public never had an opportunity to grasp the Classy sound. And now this comeback, dominated by solos, only diffuses the brand further for me. But let's continue to look back at their origins under M25 and PocketDol Studio to truly understand the group's stagnation. Fantasy Boys, another survival-born group from the same company, collapsed even faster. Their discography sits at roughly 20 songs, and after their 2025 release, Undeniable, the momentum cratered. By late 2025, most of the members had filed lawsuits and injunctions to suspend their contracts. The pattern is clear with companies like these. Ride the immediate wave of survival show hype, rush out 2 or 3 mini albums, maybe a single here, maybe another one there, then run out of steam and leave the group in limbo. Knowing how disastrously things have collapsed for Fantasy Boys puts Classy at a bit of an advantage in a way. Boy groups from survival shows usually enjoy stronger baseline sales, yet Fantasy Boys still bottomed out faster. Classy, reaching a 4th mini album with individual solos, is actually a testament to the girls' sheer talent, and I think the resilience of their core fan base. They managed to stay afloat under a management system that tanked their brother group in less than 2 years. Now, we also know there's gender disparity in fandoms, making Classy's survival in this case even more notable. If you think of it through the perspective of other groups, we actually have almost identical blueprints that stretch back even further for PocketDol, UMB, and 1-9. Both suffered too many album death sentences. They were abandoned after their initial releases, essentially. So PocketDol consistently failed to capitalize on what were standout members in those groups, leaving them without brand deals or variety slots that could help sustain public interest. Classy initially broke the curse by making it to a third mini album. But still, the 19-month hiatus basically mirrored exactly what happened to their senior groups. So seeing the numbers in perspective, UMB had 10 songs and 1-9 had 18 under PocketDol. Classy's 28 songs actually makes them the most prolific survival group in their OG company's survival show history. Yet that success only underscores the systemic problem in what has been stretching 4 years to reach a number that other agencies easily clear in under 2. And we can't interpret M25 PocketDol's actions as if they were using the Blackpink model of scarcity paired with viral fame, because silence without payoff leaves no anticipation to cash in on. The initial buzz from My Teenage Girl was squandered, and the hiatus left fans hungry for cohesion. PocketDol's mismanagement left Classy stalled, and by the time they transitioned to K-Tiger's Entertainment, the damage was already done. So Reboot After Tears wholly feels like both a reset and a compromise, a strategic relaunch under new management, but one shaped by the scars of their past. And even with all that, there is still a silver lining for me. The members are not passive performers here. Park Boeun co-composed on this album. Myung Hyunseo and Yoon Chaewon wrote lyrics, and Hyeju choreographed. These solos do not sound and feel like album fillers either. They each feel like individual yet musically cohesive creative statements. Sonically, the members' growth is undeniable, and I think it positions them well in showcasing their personal talents for life after Classy when that comes. For fans invested in their individual journeys, this album is certainly a gift. For those of us who wanted a unified group comeback, it is bittersweet. Classy's Reboot After Tears ultimately feels like a comeback caught between artistry and cohesion. It showcases impressive individual talent, proving the members' potential, but it sacrifices the collective identity I craved. In my opinion, management's pivot to solos reflects some risk mitigation, some testing which members can sustain careers after disbandment. But I also think it's important to remember that Classy is not a typical survival show group lent out from other agencies. Most contestants on My Teenage Girl entered as independents, whether child actresses, former idols without contracts, or students with no label backings. So once they won, they signed together under M25, meaning the group was built from scratch rather than borrowed from existing rosters. That makes their current situation different. They're still operating under a standard 7-year contract with just under 3 years left. So unlike short-term project groups locked into 2.5 or so year deals, Classy has room to play. And now that they're under K-Tiger's Entertainment, they have that same runway most groups get in their original post-show contracts. So anything can still happen. Now, with all those feelings behind me, let's close out with a quick debrief on each song. I really believe the album is beautiful in places, kind of frustrating in others, but it left me admiring all of the members' growth while, of course, still wishing for the synergy that could have been. What I'm about to dive into is not a full breakdown like I usually go into with the songs, but it's more of just a snapshot on how each track landed to me, and then I'll leave it at that. Starting with our intro, After the Tears. The Korean title for this song translates to Wet Diary, which already gives this opener a striking intimacy. Strings and piano come in with a kind of classical weight, and the layered choral vocals feel almost like a hymn. It's intimate, but also grand, like opening a diary and finding it written in orchestral ink. Next, we have our title, Teardrop. The original Korean title here means because walking with tears is the real me, and the song's sound matches that resilience. Synths shimmer brightly while percussion keeps things moving and the vocals rise with a steady confidence. The song doesn't loop lazily. It keeps unfolding, each section pushing forward like steps on a path. Next up, our first solo, On My Way. It's Myung Hyunseo's solo. Guitar riffs and a steady beat give this one a pop rock pulse. Hyunseo's voice has a clear, slightly raspy edge that makes the determination feel real. The arrangement layers in drums and guitar gradually, so it feels like momentum building under her vocals. Next up, Pigeon, which is Kim Sunwoo's. Synth textures bounce around with playful quirks, and there's even a jazzy touch that adds whimsy. Sunwoo's delivery skips lightly across the beat, sharp but playful, matching the song's eccentric vibe. It's fun, though the oddness makes it harder for me to fully settle into. Spinning Coin is Hyeju's solo. Trap beats and moody synths set a darker tone with this one. Hyeju sings in a hushed, breathy way, while the rap cuts in with grit. The coin metaphor feels a bit heavy here, and the tension in the arrangement never quite resolves. Stay Together is Kim Riwon's song. Piano chords and acoustic touches give this track warmth. Riwon's voice is smooth and tender, offering comfort even though the arrangement stays simple. It's gentle, like a soft reassurance. Youth is Yoon Chaewon's song. Sparkling synth pop textures carry a nostalgic energy here. Chaewon's tone is light and sincere, fresh enough to feel youthful, but wistful enough to capture this fleeting sense of innocence. Next up, Intoxicated is Park Boeun's song. Deep bass and airy pads set up a smooth R&B vibe in this one. Boeun's vocals glide easily, shifting between airy falsettos and fuller tones, pulling you into this rush of emotion. The minimal arrangement lets her voice really take the spotlight. And then finally, Without You. We're closing with one Jimin song. Its subdued beats and layered harmonies create this moody R&B closer. Jimin's delivery is plaintive and restrained, blending with 12's feature to form a duet of longing. The track fades with emptiness, leaving reflection as the album's final note. So that was my short dive into my feelings on how we got here with Classy now that we have this new album, and closing out with some feelings on the comeback. Let me know what you thought about this comeback. Let me know what you feel about Classy's journey. Let me know what you feel about some of these companies and how they manage these project groups. I'm interested in your opinions. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school.